Chinese Copperbelt Province brings to you The Lens, a program designed to bring insightful information on economics, mining, education, health, tourism, agriculture, environmental issues, sports, entertainment, current affairs, and many issues affecting the well-being of society.
It's a beautiful day from the Ndola studio on the Lens program. I'm your host, Penelope Chansa. Now on today's program, we are featuring the Emerald and Semi-Precious Mining Sector Association of Zambia President, Victor Kalesha. Mr. Kalesha, welcome to the Lens.
Thank you so much, Penelope.
It's good to have you on the program.
It's always my pleasure.
Now, Mr. Kalesha, to kickstart our discussion, I want to understand what is the mandate of the Emerald and Semi-Precious Mining Sector Association of Zambia?
Okay, the Emerald and Semi-Precious Stones Mining Association of Zambia, ESMAS, is a mouthpiece or the bridge between our small-scale mining members and the government and other stakeholders, and our main objective is one, to lobby for investment, and two, to lobby for good policies or friendly policies for our members, and sustainable mining. We also, as a sector, also deal with sensitization of our members with good mining practices, sensitization in being compliant to statutory requirements by the government, etc., etc.
Interesting. When you talk of being a bridge between your members and government, I want to get to know these members. Where do you draw your membership from?
The major membership is drawn from the emerald sector, and we only have emerald mines in Lufuanyama. You may be aware that Lufuanyama Emerald Restricted Area, which was formerly Ndola Rural, is where you find major deposits of emeralds, and we have some deposits in Northwestern Province, where we have one mine called Pride Gem. So, and also from the ASM sector, in other small-scale miners, as long as they are in production or they are into gemstone mining, we draw our membership from there.
Interesting. Who are the major players in this sector? Who are our major players?
The major players in the gemstone sector are, like I said, every artisanal small-scale miners that are into extraction of emeralds or any other semi-precious or rather precious stones. And but if we have to be precise, the major players in the emerald sector are Kaja Mining Limited and Grizzly Mining Limited. We also have Pride Gem, and I think we also have one Chinese run, which they are in partnership with the Indian Tubombeshe Mining. So I think these are the major players in terms of categorization.
And how are we doing at a small-scale level?
At small-scale level, of course, we continue struggling with the usual lack of equipment, lack of access to finance, and lack of proper geological information, because I think people may need to know. Of course, they would say, why did you get if you didn't have the capacity? Of course, there are some of us that that understand that emerald mining is not for the faint-hearted. It's for people with a heart and passion for emeralds. So some of us went into it by virtue of getting information from the Ministry of Mines, Geological Survey, who gave us those mines. And the of us were assured if ministry could give you a mine, then it is productive and it has the potential. But we eventually found out that what we understood and felt and was not really on the ground. And when we were thinking of trying to do exploration, because of course when you get a mine, you need to do due diligence by yourself, we found that it was also very expensive, where when you drill 1 meter hole of core drilling, you need to pay about $200. And the least that you can go in core drilling going down is 50 meters. So you were able to calculate 50 meters by $200, and you don't just do one hole, you do a couple of holes in dotted selected areas so that you determine where you are able to find your mineralization. So we discovered that it's quite a big cost. Our colleagues, you know, some of the players that come into the area, they are able to draw finance by virtue of the use of their license, and they would get a loan, they would get equipment, but it's not the case in Zambia. There's nowhere where I would get to as a Zambian small-scale miner to go and draw money or borrow money for my operations. So the small scale keeps on, of course, passing through a couple of challenges, but we don't give up because we feel it's a game that one day you will still strike a pocket and you'll be home and dry.
Okay, interesting. As ESMA's president, when you look at this sector, is it a sector that you would encourage an upcoming entrepreneur, a business lady, a businessman to venture into?
It's of course capital intensive, and if we have people that have the resources and have been encouraged, I know there are a couple of Zambians that have got resources, they've got equipment, but they've been shunning to venture into this sector. Yes, if you have the resources and you are able to do your proper due diligence, especially in exploration, and you are sure, then you can go in. I can encourage people, Zambians, to go in, not to shun what they would want to term foreigners are stealing from us. Why are we not doing it ourselves? So I would encourage Zambians, if they have the resources, let them come. And by the way, any business that you venture into, regardless of how profitable or nice it is, there is always some risks that are attached to that. So risk-taker entrepreneurs, yes, they can come through.
Interesting. Mr. Kalesha, when you look at the emerald sector over the years, how have you fared as a sector?
Over the years, I think that's a good question. I want you to understand and know that the first deposit of emerald was found in 1928 at the place called Miku Mine when there was a Hiki and what company that was exploring for copper. So in the process of exploration for copper, they found an emerald deposit way back 1928. And of course, it was quite, we know there's quite a lot of trenches in the area, and I think the people then in the colonial days might have been coming to extract our emeralds quietly, until we got into the late 70s, when there was a rush for emeralds, when people discovered a few pockets, and there was quite a lot of people coming from different countries and came into the area. And Dr. Kaunda then declared it a restricted area. There was a cleanup and chased out all the people. And he actually called on the Zambians to apply for those mining tenements by virtue of forming cooperatives. So we saw the coming up of cooperatives like Pilara Cooperative, there was the Chumwe Cooperative, Tuampane, Gentina, quite a number of came up, and they got the tenements from Dr. Kaunda. But like I said, because of the capital intense of the project itself, many had found some production, but because they had spent too much in trying to extract, so they didn't have much to plow back. And this is how you found that most of these mines seem like they are dormant. It's because they had put in too much. They tried to sustain their operations through what they were getting. It wasn't kind of enough. But the mistake that was made was, like our colleagues, the large scale, those that have got the capacity, enough equipment, they would spend so much amounts of money, but they would stockpile and come and sell at some point where they would some kind of reach out to recover what they had spent with a bit of a profit, sometimes with no profit, recapitalize and continue digging and stockpiling until they started making some profits. So how is it fared? I think it's a 50-50. We've had, auctions and sales that have put up some kind of revenue into the national coffers. So the last 10 years, I would say it has been actually fair, and we felt, in future, this is a project that would be able to smile at, because with the vast marketing that Kajam and Grizzly Mining brought up, the only two companies that are auctioning. So they took the Zambian gemstones to the international market at, we even at a point that we even became the largest exporter of the Zambian emeralds. So we're trying to fare well, and obviously a bit attracting investment, because people are like, where is this country where they produce, they contribute much emeralds to the international market. So investors were getting attracted of wanting to come, and it was exciting that we felt, okay, our big brothers have managed to reach this far, to want to market the sector to the level where we would have new players on the field. So until we started having policies that were not friendly to the sector.
I was going to ask, do we have those players coming on board?
We are anticipating. We have had inquiries. We've had people coming, and this is only fact that, after the reintroduction of the 15%, which was earlier introduced in 2019 by the previous government and reintroduced in December 2024, many of the investors drew cold feet, because they were like, they would look at, calculate the cost, and they would compare the taxes paid in major emerald producing countries like Brazil, Colombia, Afghanistan, and these other small countries that were, the Zambian ones became just too high. We were the highest in terms of taxes in gemstone minerals.
Okay,
so,
you've just mentioned about the 15% tax. Your organization, you seem to have mixed feelings over the reintroduction of that. Why is that so?
One, I've alluded to, being the largest tax country in terms of gemstones, and two, they should. I think there is a lot of misconception surrounding the emerald mining sector, where people think emeralds are just gotten by the virtue of digging, even with pick and shovel, because people have never taken time to study how this sector operates. It's completely different from the base metal mining, like copper, which you are able to define even how much volumes you will get in a year, in a month. And by the way, copper mining, immediately you start mining, including the sand that is on top, as long as you test the soils, you'll find that there is a percentage out of it, you are able to use it. It's not like in emerald, where you have to extract over 1 million tons of waste before you could find, by luck, 1 kg of emeralds.
By luck?
By luck.
Okay.
Because, I think, let me explain this in a way that people should understand. when you are doing exploration for emeralds, there is no machine in the world, and I beg to be challenged by anyone, probably they have and they should help us, where you are able to tell emeralds will be found at 2 meters, 3 meters, and you'll find so much volumes, you'll find so much qualities, quantities. There is no machine like that. The only thing that is there is when you do the magnetic surveys and radiometric surveys, it depicts the anomalies to give the possibilities of, say, okay, there is a TMS here, there is talc magnetite cyst in this area, and the next level of that is to do core drilling, because not all areas give the anomalies of the possibilities of mineralization. So now you need to do core drilling, where you use a rig to drill and say, okay, yeah, it showed us that there are anomalies, that there are possibilities of finding emerald. And you drill with the one I said, 1 meter of drilling costs $200. Then you have to drill until the level where it finds you the contact that will tell you, here you can remove this overburden and take the emeralds. So there are times that you find that contact at 10 meters, sometimes even at 5 meters. And if you are lucky, which excites a miner, is when you are drilling and you find that from the core, there is an emerald embedded in the core, and you go mine. If it's at 5 meters, you have to remove 5 meters overburden to check on what kind of emeralds are there. So you find whatever it is. It could be 1 kg, it could be 5 kg, it could be 10 kg, it could be even 100 kg, and you check. But out of that, you don't know how much is good quality, whether low grade or high grade. But I want to tell you, Penelope, that there are times that you mine and the content, like Kajam and Grizzly, they've gone on up to about 100 meters deep. So at 100 meters, they find a vein that is going into a rock. Okay? For you to follow that vein and to discover or extract the emeralds that are there, you have to remove another 100 meters of waste until you get there. There is no other shortcut. There is no, I think Kajam tried underground, Mitondo tried underground, but it failed out because, like you are doing underground, there is a tunnel there, and you find emeralds there, and then you find the other emerald in the other side. How do you extract it? It was becoming a dangerous exercise to do. So the cost that goes with the emerald mining is what is extreme. It's so exorbitant, and that's why people shun it. So when introducing a tax to a sector which is already being choked with the production cost that goes into it, is one way of just killing the industry.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, if you're just joining us on The Lens today, we are talking to Emerald and Semi-Precious Mining Association of Zambia President Victor Kalesha. Now, Mr. Kalesha, government reintroduces the 15% tax. ESMAS seems to object to that. Are we trying to blackmail government?
We are trying to protect government, because if we don't inform government of what is prevailing, the dynamics that are prevailing on the ground, and we let it say, okay, let them see what this will bring out, we are not being fair to our own country. We are players, we are Zambians. I am a Zambian, 100% Zambian, very excited, very proud Zambian, who would like to see this country develop with whatever natural resources that we have that are able to contribute to the national economy. Just this morning, I was watching some documentary about Burkina Faso and President Traore, how he's making use of the local products like rice, wheat, and what they were saying they were meant to be, and they are trying to use that. I am one of the Zambian that would like to see this country derive much more revenue from the local resources. But I won't let it, we won't pretend to say this is a sector that is easy to mine. And so we are telling government, please don't kill this industry, because if you do, we have no investors coming into the country. We would have less revenue, less exports going, because people will be afraid to pay that hefty amount of taxes. And also would have job losses, because if the production cost goes too high, you find that the players, the miners, the people that are into mining, they would say, okay, for us to recover a bit from the operation costs, let's cut down on labor. And we're saying, please don't let our brothers and sisters go out of employment because we have introduced something that will choke the cow that is giving out a bit of milk. So we are not, no one is actually blackmailing government. We are helping the government, because truthfully speaking, if this 15% as it came into effect, we saw actually the dangers, because from the 1st January that it was effected, we saw less exports going into there. What did we lose out? The whole month of January, no one paid mineral royalties, or no one is going to pay mineral royalties for January, because there was no exports that were going out. Why don't we get content with what we get and maybe find out how much are these people making out of this emerald mining and sales? There is a problem that needs to be, corrected. When people see, especially Gemfields and Grizzly, they put their figures. We had an auction and we derived so much amount, let's say $48 million. But if you want to understand how much cost had gone into there, sometimes the whole 48 million, if the cost in that month or year was too much, maybe consumed just with the cost of operation, salaries and what, and corporate social responsibilities. But I'm not saying then the players don't get anything out of it. I said there is consistency that is required, resilience. You need to have a heart to say, okay, as we operate, we've got this amount of emeralds. Next month we have, and stockpile. So if we auction this month, our production for the last 6 months or 1 year, we got 48 million. So meaning at least this 48 million we recapitalize, we'll use it and maybe make some more production. So out of the next production or the third or the future production, then we start getting some profits. I'm aware that Gemfields, when they just came into Kajam, as they got shares in Kajam, they spent over 108 million in exploration. And this is a company that draws its money from the stock market. At least they are relieved, because the people are giving in money. So they used $108 million. It's common sense. How do you recover that? It's mining and extraction. And if you extract less than 108, you run at a loss. Grizzly mining, I'm mindful that in their exploration, they spend millions and millions of dollars to do exploration. There are tankers of diesel that go into that area every month, every week actually, not every month. And you need to understand that one excavator, piece of excavator, uses 200 to 300 liters of diesel per shift. And these are mines that operate 24/7. As a small-scale mine, I've heard people say, the small-scale miners are just supporting because they don't even feel the weight. I don't. I have an excavator, one excavator, and I use 300 liters for an excavator for diesel every day. I use in my compressor, when I'm doing the drilling, I use 100 liters. So that's about 400. And if I'm operating for 10 days, that is 4,000 liters. If I'm operating for 100 days, which is only 3 months, that is 40,000 liters. Now let's look at the guys that are operating on a big scale. So we are only saying, let's not choke our industry more to scare away investors, to make the ones that are already existing and paying a mineral royalty, which is putting revenue into the government coffers, the 30% corporate tax, the 4% presumptive tax, be thrown out of the market. Because, mind you, Zambia is not the only country that is producing emeralds.
Interesting. Mineral royalties you've mentioned. What are some of the taxes that your sector pays to government?
There is quite a couple of, apart from the 30% presumptive tax, the mineral royalty that we do, and we proudly pay that because we know. Let me say this, Penelope. We are Zambians, and even they call some of the companies that they are foreign owned, it's favoring the foreigners. I want to mention to you that Grizzly Mining is not foreign owned. It is Zambian registered company, and every coin that is raised from the emeralds remains in the country. They also have invested heavily into infrastructure into the country. But what I'm trying to say that we apart from the corporate tax, the 6% mineral royalty, and the presumptive tax that we pay, I personally pay every year area charges for the land that I have. I have 88 hectares, and I pay per year about 5,000 something for the land. Like you pay rates at what we pay every year per hectare, and that one is whether you are producing or you are not producing, you have to pay that. We pay that. There are even other small embedded taxes that we pay to the government for the purpose of having the government run, because we understand that government cannot run without people paying taxes.
Does the country have good policies to support your sector? Are there good policies in place that have been put in place by government to support this sector?
The emerald sector, I would have loved to cut it in two. As small-scale miners, we have been advocating that maybe the small-scale miner should have a separate tax regime, should have many other things that we do separately. I was saying we pay area charges. The large scale, the amount I pay is paid by the same, even by the large scale, the same amount. So this is why government should have been, some things should have been graduating from this small scale. You graduate, when you get to the large scale, that's when you start paying what you're paying. So in terms of if the government gotten good policies for our sector, not very supportive sectors. Do we have a good relationship with government? Yes. We sit down, we talk, and brainstorm and come up with some of the mechanisms, but they are not implemented. So I think it's high time that we started, continuing on the trajectory of always discussing and coming up with policies that are supportive to the gemstone sector, because we are totally different from the base metals, from these other mining products that you see on the market. We are completely different. So we think that somewhat we are not well supported as a sector, because if people would think we make so much money out of this sector when we don't, when we are choked, when we are burdened by the production costs, then we expect government to come up with a win-win situation, we need to be sitting down and discuss and agree. We are ready for that.
What would be the ideal situation? You have good relations with government, but the policies are not favorable. Where is the missing link? What would be?
Yeah, like I said, I'm speaking two-way, as a sector in general, and also I represent the small-scale mining sector. In other countries, Penlop, Tanzania, I was in Tanzania 2 years ago for a conference where we learned that the government, through the president, had acquired 15 drilling rigs or exploration machines for the small-scale mining sector. And she told them it's that initiative started under former late President Magufuli, where he sat down with all the small-scale miners and reduced the taxes. I can't remember from how much, but I know that in Tanzania, of all the taxes with everything inclusive, they only pay 7.1%. Okay? So
is that doable here in Zambia?
You are bringing in 15% when we are paying 6% plus. When we put presumptive tax at small scale, we are already at 10%, 2.9 more than Tanzania. So they got them drilling rigs for the whole country. They will say, let's do this area. When you are successful, the other area also benefits, but they put all in the all regions. Like if we talk about 15, in Zambia we have 10 provinces. Then we would have each province having one rig and do exploration. If I find that my mine is not, productive, I leave it and maybe start doing the farming. So the problem has been there is lack of empowerment of the small scale. I painfully hear some Zambians say, why should you go into a sector which you are not able to meet? It's demanding costs. Can't they be proud of us to say, in the division of doing things, we have people in agriculture, we have Zambians in mining. So can they be empowered? When they say, why should you go into there? When you need to know that eventually they would want to say, Zambians cannot do it, let's allow the foreign investment to come and take root. But what we are saying is, let's be in there, empower us, so that every coin that is realized from the sales of the emeralds that we produce will be internalized in the country. That brings me to a point. What should we do? Government should stop issuing mining licenses ultimately to foreigners, okay? Or to, maybe let's not call it foreigners, to foreign investors, so that we sugarcoat it a bit. Foreign investors, we already have 300 plus mining tenements. People that have tried and failed, keep on trying, keep on putting. Why don't you bring an investor for us and say, go and partner with the Victor Kalesha, go and partner with Mofati Mukwala, go and partner with the Shadrick Mwape, go and partner with all these Buisa mine, Kanjaka, all these mines that are lacking investment. Join them with the partners. This is what is happening in other countries. You are aware about the Botswana case, because even like I'm talking about the Botswana case, Kajam, the government has got shares into Kajam 25% to 75%. What can be done? Guys, we are partners with you in here. This is our country. We are going 50-50. So that, and sharing, we should be sharing in terms of products.
Wonderful. Mr. Kalesha, how then does the nation expect to benefit from the decision by government to cancel the tax? As a nation, how do we expect to benefit?
There's a lot of benefits, because already I think I've mentioned and alluded to the losses that could have happened by the loss of even the 6% mineral royalty and corporate tax and presumptive tax, and you know, because if it has, this is obvious and it's just factual that mining players could have started cutting down on employment levels. What would have that happened? Increasing to the already employment shortages that are in the country. So the benefit government is getting is keeping the people in the employment circles who are still getting a salary and paying taxes going into government coffers. And benefit, people were meant to believe by enemies of progress that we've seen screaming everywhere that the government has stopped gemstone miners from paying taxes. Far from it. What about the mineral royalty, presumptive tax? There are a lot of, Penelope, if we were to sit down and start calculating, when we buy 35,000 liters of diesel, which I know go into the area almost every day, hundreds and hundreds of liters when you buy, there is a tax that goes to government through that which you buy. There are goods and services that these mining companies are putting into the contractors that they subcontract. They take care of, and all that benefit goes to the government because the trickle-down effect goes even to the lowest marketeer. But if we start closing down, it will not be good for the country. So the benefit is what is prevailing now. The taxes, we should be content and appreciative with the costs, with the taxes that are being paid now by the mining companies. I want to tell you, like I said, you know, the emerald mining is not just in Zambia. We have other countries, and we would have had buyers going to other countries where it is profitable for them to trade. Because I want you to understand that 15% is a production-based tax. You are not going to get it from anywhere, from the production and sales that you make. And as you put that into your production cost, and you produce that 1 kg, I was talking about 2 kg, fine. When you take it to sell, you would want to sell to recover your production cost. And when I take it to the buyer, you would tell me, your emeralds are too expensive. I'm going to buy from Brazil, where there is no that 15%. They won't charge me much. I'll buy from Brazil and go and cut and polish. What would have happened to this country, to the Zambian emeralds? People think emeralds is kind of food, or they do anything with it. Emeralds are specifically for jewelry and luxury, which we have no consumption for in this country. And we have had people talking about, and why don't we add value to our emeralds? We export them raw. Question is, when we add value, then take them where? We have no consumption for them in this country. And the people that buy them and do the cutting and polishing in India, in Israel, in Germany, those have their own markets. They design, you know, these designers' clothes that you wear. In Zambia, when they bring the designers, now that we are seeing even the the cheap ones coming on the market. But the real designers, they have got specific big buyers that buy. That goes for the emeralds. They want to buy good quality cut stones. Do we have people that do add value in Zambia? Yes, we do. We have a school, the Gemstone Lapidary School in Ndola. We have quite a number of cutters who were trained by Zambia Emeralds. I don't know if you've heard about them. There was Zambia Emeralds Limited. They were cutting stones, adding value. If we had continued on that route, then we could have gotten there. But for us to start cutting and get to that level of the Indians, we need to start bit by bit. So if we are saying we want value addition, let's not just rush into there, we'll crash. Let's allow, if I were a person in government, Minister of Mines or whatever, government in short, I would say, can we go and draw some Indians from India, bring them employ them, bring them to the lapidary school. With the students that are there, with the expertise that we have there, the Toles or from the school, Moses Mazimba's good cutters, and others that are into bring them, let them work together. 5 years, 10 years, the Indians would have passed on the expertise. And the people that get that expertise will continue now passing on. Then in future I would say Zambia are the best, one of the best cutters in the world, because we would have had the expertise passed on. Indians have had that cutting on going on as Bible days. I want to remember that verse in the Bible. You can Google it. I've forgotten the verse, but which talks about when Moses was building the temple, they were already they were not making crafts to put in the temple, but also started cutting gemstones, and it was passed on and on until today, generation to generation. When do we want to start now and stop everything and say let's add our value? No one will buy our products, especially that Zambian women don't envy putting on expensive jewelry. If I say, Penelope, I want to get you, my wife, I want to get you 5,000 kwacha, let's just put it kwacha, for a pendant and earrings, very few would be very comfortable and happy, unless those that just want to play with money. Zambian women will tell you, you should have given me, I could have done anything with it. Why you spend 5,000 kwacha on this kind of small thing for me? Am I right?
I won't comment on that one, Mr. Kadesha. Time seems to be running away from us. In less than a minute, I just want you to describe the current mining environment in relation to gemstone and emerald sectors.
The current environment is kind of hostile. The cost of production is too high. Everybody knows it's not about me. Diesel is very high. You know, we use the main area we use in production is diesel, and it's too high. And with all those uncertainties that are into there, we've seen our Chinese colleagues run away because of the cost of production. Chinese they put in their $10 million here. In a month, 2 months after, they start seeing the results. They had worked. I'm inviting Zanis to come and see. We'll take them around. They've run away. They've dug holes and holes, and they didn't find. They would find a small pocket there, and they were surprised that, is this what they said is profitable? They've run away. So the environment is not as people out there think it is. I always challenge and say, can we have some Zambians who are, you know, risk taker entrepreneurs, those that are bored, those that are not faint-hearted, spare some money and say, can we go and invest? Who knows? Maybe they will be lucky, and they will come in with the lucky that it is, and we produce, then the country will start benefiting. So the industry is a high risk but high reward, depending on what level of investment you are putting in. So for you to benefit or to succeed into emerald mining, you need to invest into it heavily. Why are we there ourselves and still hanging into there? We are addicted to it, and we just feel if we can see a grizzly mining proprietor managing from zero, and he keeps on struggling. By the way, is one of my mentors. He calls himself risk taker entrepreneur. He feels if I spend $3 million here and I don't find, I won't give up. I'll still put another 3 million there, because I may be able to find. And true, he loses there, he wins there, recapitalizes, gets a bit of it and continues. And we get the inspiration from there and say, wow, this is an African guy that really has the confidence. So like me, I have the confidence to say, if there is an African in Mr. Abdullah Njai from Grizzly, who has succeeded, one day I'll also be able to succeed so that my nation also can succeed like we are getting benefits from Abdullah Njai.
Wonderful inspiration from you, Mr. Kalesha there. Well, our dear viewers, whatever goes up must come down. We have been talking to Emerald and Semi-Precious Mining Sector Association of Zambia President Victor Kalesha on the lens from the Ndola Studios. This has been your host, Penelope Chansa. Mr. Kalesha, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.